Okay, welcome to Sustainable News. The headlines: phys-dot-org, how climate change could impact algae in the global ocean. A new scientist is talking about the younger generations, and they say they are the most fatalistic about climate change. They have an article from the week talking about ethical travel and what does it look like right now. And also article from the World Economic Forum talking about the European Union and the road to sustainability and how each EU state is actually doing. And then, last but certainly not least, we have the unveiling of the statue in front of Whittington Hospital dedicated to the nurses of the NHS, and in particular those that came here from the African and Caribbean nations. So next article from New Scientist, as well as a follow-up on knau.org. Talking about young people. Young people are anxious about climate change. They say governments are failing them. This comes from researchers from the University of Bath and other schools. They spoke with 10,000 people in 10 countries, all between the ages of 16 and 25, to see how they feel about climate change. And the main response was incredibly worried. Now, the New Scientist is saying that younger generations are the most fatalistic about climate change, and this is an absolute load of rubbish. The idea that younger generations care the most about the climate and that older people downplay the issue, refuse to take action, is an absolute and a widespread myth. Most people actually believe that environmental issues justify significant changes in lifestyles. For example, in the UK, we have the baby boomers. Over 3/4, so over 75% of those between 56 and 76, they agree that climate change, biodiversity loss, other environmental issues are big enough problems that they justify significant changes to people's lifestyle. So this is just as high as any other generation. You can see it in the chart. And so it's all completely in line with the younger generations. Okay, next article from the WEF Forum, World Economic Forum, the European Union's road to sustainability and how each state within the EU is actually doing. So they've got a new tool, the SDG Country Scores tool from Eurostat, and it shows if European Union countries are actually making progress on global sustainable development goals. Now, the countries are measured compared to the EU average, and then they look at the fact, have they made progress over the past 5 years? So COVID-19 has slowed progress towards sustainable development, also galvanizing commitments to the global goals. This according to the United Nations. It's actually a very nice tool, a very nice website as well to look at. It's impossible to find. You can't search for it on the site itself as well. So here's the exact address. If that is still too difficult, which I gather it is, you go to Google and you actually search for the term, and that is SDG Country, one word, scores with an S at the end, and tool. If you put that in there, you will find it. Next article from the week. What does ethical travel look like now? They say that travel for the double jabbed has become much easier, but is it possible to travel ethically during a pandemic? And they give some numbers. They say despite very high vaccination rates in the UK, 64.5% of the population is now fully vaccinated, so double jabbed. It seems that many Brits are still reluctant to fly to a foreign destination. Bookings are actually 83% lower than pre-pandemic levels, which seems logical to me. But hey, according to the Washington Post, only 6% of the world's population has been fully vaccinated, leaving billions waiting for doses. And I quote, "Until you have worldwide access and adequate distribution of vaccines, then it's going to inherently create inequity." So I was one of the 70-something invitees to the unveiling, and this unveiling was from the statue honoring 40,000 nurses and midwives coming from around the Commonwealth, from the African and the Caribbean nations, and they were invited to come to the UK That was between 1948 and 1973. This to help establish and embed the NHS. So at the unveiling itself, I spoke with Jak of the Nubian Jak Community Trust. I spoke with Samantha, who designed and put this statue together. I spoke with the mayor of Islington, and I spoke with the main sponsor from Ernst & Young, who I brought in to support the project.
Yeah, we believe it's really important to kind of commemorate and recognize the great work that was done by those that came during that Windrush and Commonwealth generation to help build the NHS. And you know, at EY we have descendants, children, grandchildren from this Windrush and Commonwealth generation, and we're beneficiaries of that generation in that way. So we felt it's important to contribute to that. And in addition, our purpose at EY is to build a better working world, and we think this aligns with the vision of the Nubian Jak Trust. So that's why we supported it, and that's why we're proud to be here.
It is, yes. It's really significant, apart from the fact that it's in the borough and of the contribution of the Caribbean people to the borough. It's also significant because my father used to work over here in the construction.
What do you think?
Are you happy?
I'm pleased.
Are you?
Pleased. I'm fulfilled. It's been done. It's now here. It wasn't just an idea.
And I was commissioned to create the artwork for the statue. So I did a 3D model of it, and then I created drawings from that model so that it could be made in stone.
Big smiles, incoming. 3, 2, 1, boom. Beautiful.
So the article from phys-dot.org about how climate change could impact algae in the global ocean. It's a study from the University of East Anglia, as well as the Earlham Institute. And it says that global warming is likely to cause abrupt changes to important algal communities. This is because of shifting biodiversity breakpoints, boundaries in the oceans. And these boundaries are predicted to shift polewards over the next 100 years. Now, if you look at 100 years ago and you make predictions at that point, people expected to live until they were 50 years old. Horse carriages were just about replaced by automobiles. There's no TV, no computers, no mobile phones, no data. Nothing, nada. So, of course, things will change over 100 years. So to predict changes like these, in my humble opinion, are totally meaningless.